from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, musical, what is that game called? Not bocce ball. Croquet players, bocce, croquet, lawn bowling, whatever your game, whatever, if you play yard games or reindeer games, or none of the above, board games, talk about board games. Am I right? I mean, B-O, however you spell boring, board. You're in the right place, because that's the kind of mild humor we have here. Humor, near humor, close to, it's humor-like material I use here on the podcast. It's not barely funny. It's funny. It's like something funny, but it's not funny. Nicely perfect. I'm doing my job. If you're new, welcome. This is a podcast to be your friend in the deep, dark night, to let you fall asleep, to take your mind off of stuff to fall asleep, to be there while you fall asleep or you can't sleep at all, which is a bit different, but I'm really glad you're here for the show. If you're, just in case you're new or you want a little refresher, you're a regular listener, holy cow, great to see you, by the way. Coming back after a while? Oh, yeah, no, okay, great. And all the pets out there listening along, fishes, what up, my fishes? I love shouting out all pets, not just fish, but I love saying, I love giving a little shout out to my fishes. Fish food, right? It's just food to you. That's another humor-like thing. I don't know why they call it fish food. It's actually flakes of stuff. I don't know, whatever. Okay, if in case anyone's still here, just so you know, this is a podcast you barely listen to. Okay, so what we have coming up is support, and that's for new listeners and casual listeners and people that listen every once in a while or who are going through something. Then there's a long, meandering intro, totally separate from the support, meant to ease you into bedtime or just hang out while you're winding down, or just to get, it's just to ease you into it. Then later on, we'll have a bedtime story. It'll be me talking about a performance of Heathers the Musical and thinking about the plot of Heathers the Musical and probably comparing it to Legally Blonde the Musical, maybe a little bit to the Mean Girls, that French musical, Mean Girls, that based on the Tina Fey movie, but probably not directly because my mind can't hold that many details in it. But I don't know. We'll see how it goes. So I'm glad you're here. If you're new or a regular listener, that's what we got coming up. But you barely have to listen. I'm here for your benefit. Now, if you really benefit from this show, like it makes your life a lot better, you're a super listener, then these next messages, if the show's essential for you, these messages are your essential part of the show. And here's a way you could say, yeah, the show's an essential part of my life. How do I make sure that it stays that way? These are the ways you could do that. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix Sleep, and they've got some amazing deals coming up. You're going to hear about it at the end of this ad read, so do not miss out. I want you to right now to open up your phone. Just do it with me. I'm going to go to helixsleep.com/sleep, and if I were you, I wouldn't want to, I don't know what your relationship with your bed is right now. I've had a long-term relationship with my Helix mattress. It fits my needs, how I sleep. I sleep on my side, I sleep on my stomach, but now I'm sleeping more on my back, and I'm relocating, and unfortunately, I'm not in a position where I could ship my mattress because I have to move my stuff before I move. But that's okay. It means I get a new Helix, so I'm going to take the Helix quiz right now, helixsleep.com/sleep. 30 seconds, and you can, okay, one or two sleepers. One. Okay, let me put in my email. Put in my name here, give a little bit of information. Okay, what size mattress am I considering? I got that down. All right. I don't know if are you taking this quiz with me at helixsleep.com/sleep? All right, toss. I guess I toss and turn. So I'm going to pick toss and turn. And what kind of firmness? Okay, I'm going to pick my firmness that fits my needs. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get yours, Okay, I'm going to talk about my back there, talk about temperature. All right, I got matched with my mattress. Oh, boy. And it's a different one than I have now just because I made a couple changes to how I sleep. So I'm going to check this out and think about it for my next Helix I'm going to be sleeping in. So take that Helix quiz. It's going to be coming right to your door, but most of all, it'll be a mattress that fits you, your needs, and how you sleep. And the best news is that Helix has amazing deals for Sleep With Me listeners, but only if you use our link. So go to helixsleep.com/sleep for 25% off site-wide during their extended Labor Day sale. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for 25% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it's Scoots here, and this message is going out to all-night listeners. Any all-night listeners, right? All-night listeners, everybody. Well, actually, it's just going out to you. Are you an all-night listener? But this message is for that one all-night listener who's listening to me and hear me right now. As you listen all night long, me and a bunch of other listeners are here rooting for you. Night after night, hour after hour, every single night, everything we put into the show. We're rooting for you to have that comfort. 8, 6, 7, 8, 4, 5, however many hours a night you listen. And I hope you're the one hearing me and listening to me right now, because you get a chance to get even deeper with this. Like, do you want to root for somebody else that's an all-night listener like you? Do you want to root for them right now? Send them some comfort across the deep, dark night? Or do you want to send it to somebody else who listens differently than you? To root for a new listener, or somebody that just lost someone, or somebody that's getting ready to go back to school, or somebody that just changed work schedules. Do you want to root for that listener? Or do you want to feel all those listeners rooting for you, just like I talk about on the show, sending their comfort to you across the deep, dark night? Or do you want to do both? Do you want to give out that comfort and receive some of it? And then do you want to root for one of those all-night listeners that's listening right now? If it's not you, do you want to root for someone else to support the show? Because we do need to, especially those all-night listeners. You're one of the groups of super listeners that are going to make the difference in the future of Sleep With Me. So do you want to root for one of the other all-night listeners to support the show right now? Or do you want to hear all those listeners? Maybe you're the one that's listening to me, hearing me right now, and then you could feel all those other listeners. They know you've been meaning to support the show. They know you're an all-night listener just like them. The podcast has changed your life. And you've just been putting off supporting the show, or saying, I'll do it one day. Or, I got to cancel those 2 streaming services I don't really use. Feel all those people rooting for you to go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. I'm rooting for you too. But I'm rooting for every listener, right? And that's why I'm asking, because I want to keep making this podcast. I do not want this show behind a paywall. I want it out there for every super listener, every new listener, every situational listener, and for you. So, but if you're the one everybody's rooting for, don't wait. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus to support the show right now. Thanks. Oh, Mystery Bart. A lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bart. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support your scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. And don't forget, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me is with sleep phones. You can get sleep phones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones, and you sleep with me for $5 off at checkout. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleep-phones. You sleep with me at checkout. What do you say we get on with the show? Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep, but we do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever is keeping you awake. It could be thoughts, it could be feelings, it could be physical sensations, it could be changes in time, temperature, routine. I think I forgot the intro. I got distracted. I'm totally off. I don't know because I can't rewind. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. That could be thoughts. Maybe my thoughts now, I had a thought pop in my head in the middle of that. And now I'm not sure if this is my second trip through this up to this point of the intro or not. It was a thought of like someone, a non-positive person who was giving me feedback on the show, and my brain just popped it in there, and I'm trying to get better at dealing with that stuff. So I was trying, and I said, whoa, we're trying to make a sleep podcast intro here. I wonder what the video, so I recorded the video of this. I wonder, I'm going to have to watch the video back to see where I went. Felt like I was in a classroom and I was not the teacher. So thoughts, it could be things you're thinking about the past, the present, the future, or all of those. In my case, it was kind of all of those. I was thinking about in the future, I'd be more adjusted and be able to say, hey, what if you see this from my side? Or so well just to say, nah, man, it doesn't matter. Different thoughts for different thinkers. And then I was in the past being like, there was some finger wagging going on at me. And I was still in the present, though I wasn't really present in the present. And that's kind of my job, is to be here present for you. But even in these meta ways, I get to be here present for you, which is a cool part about the show. So it could be thoughts. It could be feelings related to those thoughts, or feelings that are just there, feelings left over from the day or the past, or the feelings about the future, the thoughts, physical sensations, changes in time, temperature, routine, work schedule. Maybe you work a different shift. By the way, not only does this show pander to fish, pets, or fish, all fish, and the band Fish, and people named Fish, people nicknamed named Fish. That's hard to say. Is there any, I'm going to forget my other tangent because I just realized that's a good tongue twister. If you say named, Nick, my name's Nick, my nickname, nicknames, Nicolly something. I don't know. So I already forgot my other tangent. It was related to thoughts and feelings, physical sensations. No idea. So it's cool. Like, that's what happens with this show, though, is like one tangent goes into another. And we get lost, and because I'm here to, the only show that panders not only to fish and all those other things I listed, but to people that work different shifts, obscure shifts. I mean, like a lot of the shifts, rightly so, they get a lot of praise, and people pander to the first shift, second shift, or third shift, or ABC, or ABC and D, or the night shift and the swing shift. A lot of those have been even glamorized in movies. what no one that I know of, I'm sure there's other people out there. I love to point out, it's not really pandering when you point it out. Okay, so in that case, it's gratuitous pandering, I believe. Can you combine gratuitous pandering and is this navel gazing? I don't think it is. I do think this is gratuitous pandering. But I do a lot of gratuitous pandering to shifts that have not yet been named, though I name them. The PPS is postpartum shifts, or NPS is non-parton shifts, shifts not sung about by Dolly Parton. So if you work a shift like 9 to 5, and then 9 to 5 also, by the way, I'm going to give Dolly credit here. That implies that she's also giving love to other shifts, 9 to 5. Then you got 5 to whatever, 5 plus 8, 5 and 5 is 10, 7, 5 to 1, and then 1 to 9. Yeah, that makes sense. Math works out on that. So all three of those shifts are covered, by the way, in the song 9 to 5. In my opinion. But, Dolly does not, she just doesn't, it wouldn't be a song if she was like, I'm working 2 a.m. to, again, plus 8 is 10, but you got to work in your breaks, so you're probably working 2 to 11. What a way to make a living. That's what this show, I pander to you right now. So it could be work shifts, or if you change one of those shifts, that's going to be a rough one, the 2 to 11. I mean, that would be a big lifestyle change that you'd probably need a sleep podcaster for if you went from working 2 a.m. to 11 a.m. to, I don't know, some other shift, maybe the glamour shift, 9 to 5. You say, man, 9 to 5, and that's when you get to go home? Like, so you get an hour paid lunch or something? That's great. Or it could be anything else. You could be going through something, getting over something, in the middle of something. The only reason I run through all that stuff and list it is so you get the sense that you're in a place where there's an attempt to understand you and to see you where you are. And I can't, like I said, I just don't have, just like Dolly, I don't have time to pander to every shift in every episode or whatever keeps you awake. But I know what it feels like for me. I'm still in the middle of a really rough patch, and I know what it feels like for me. And each night it feels different, but non-positive, even though I have all the tools in my toolbox for the most part. It's like I've got stuff personally and then stuff interpersonally and outside of my control. Like all those things are happening. So I know what it feels like for me. And I know it's felt like for me in the past too. And I laugh because it's kind of, helps me make this show knowing really there's some part of me deep within me, not just in the surface that says, please let tonight go better. Please let me get a couple more hours of sleep. Or please let me not wake up. Or please let me just fall asleep and stay asleep. There's like a part of me begging for that, but not in a, but people, normal day people are like, what are you begging yourself for sleep? You'll never sleep like that. And I say, okay, I guess you just don't get it, but, I don't know if you like here. I think we can connect on that. That's what's important to me. And the thing is, I've been saying this for maybe a year now. I've been doing the show for a long time. And over the past couple of years, I realized I always knew we had a special thing going together, but there's this extra layer that is somewhere out there listening to the show right now is another listener who really and truly can really relate to whatever it is that you are dealing with, of whatever brought you to this show. there's at least one other person out there in the world, on this globe, on this planet or spaceship Earth, as they say, who really gets it. And they really do feel for you. And they really hope this podcast can help you out, just like I do. They are rooting for you to get the rest you need so your life is better, that your life is more manageable when you're rested, and that it's not such a rigmarole or something you have to dread or kind of feel that thing. Please let tonight go better. Please. I don't know what else to do. I mean, luckily I kind of do, but it's even that part of me, at least, is like, I don't even know what else to do. And I said, well, we could try this or this. And yeah, I don't want to do that either. So that's cool. But on top of all that, and this isn't a must that the show has to work for you or help you out, but if it does, then you could have that wonderful experience, wonderfully subtle, but wonderfully powerful, of rooting for somebody else out there in the world too. That's kind of hurting like you might be, or uncomfortable like you might be. So that's the magic of the show. It's you and the other people you can connect with, even though it's indirect and subtle. Now, the way the show works is I send my voice across the deep dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents, which means I go off topic. I get mixed up. Whatever. I've gone on quite a few tangents already. Not all of them make sense. And my voice is not traditionally soothing. It's creaky dulcet. Now, what else do you need to know if you're new here? Well, one, the show's just not for everybody. Most people don't like me or the podcast, particularly when they first get here. And my thing is, like, I embrace that. Like, why would you? I would be skeptical. I would be doubtful. I would probably be grouchy when I was looking for something to help me fall asleep. And I searched and I found any show, but particularly this show. And, you're like, what is this going on? I thought this was a sleep podcast, and you're just rambling on and on and on about nothing. That takes some getting used to. And my personality and the style of show may never work for you. There's people who just, their thoughts may change over the years. There's also a lot of people that have listened the whole time. But just in case any of those things happen for you, we have a website. It's a combination website survey to get you to the right place. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. And when you go there, if the show's not for you or you just don't like me or the show, you click on one thing and it'll take you to a page that has other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff on there. And if you need to, like, if you're just fed up with me or whatever, you can vent that kind of stuff out. It just gives you a positive way and a way to find something that's going to help you in the end if this show doesn't. Because everything I said up to this point is still true, even if you strongly dislike me, which is pretty common. The only thing I'll ask is, go to the website and use that. And then you don't have to expend any energy on me. And we just both go our separate ways. It's kind of cool. And then maybe one day you're listening to another sleep podcast and you're rooting for listeners on that show. It's a wonderful thing. So, yeah, most people don't like me. This podcast is a podcast you don't listen. Oh, it takes some getting used to. For the people that do like it. I think that was kind of in between the lines with what I just said, but there's like 1 million people, I think, over the past 11, 12 years that have emailed me and said, first, I couldn't stand you, or I had no idea. And then on the second or third try, it clicked. Oh, now I get it. He really does know, like, he really does barely know. He really knows that he barely knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's barely doing. And he's barely doing it. And I'd say, that's pretty apt. That's right on. Just give it a few tries and see how it goes. You got nothing to lose, because if the show doesn't work for you, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you and find something that does. That's cool. Also, this is a podcast you just barely listen to, kind of like background noise or a TV on in the other room or something streaming under your pillow, like a show or whatever. So that takes it's kind of, it just takes, like, you kind of listen, you kind of don't listen, you could listen, you don't need to. This is also a podcast that doesn't put you to sleep. My job is to keep you company while you fall asleep. There's no pressure to fall asleep with this show. I'm going to be here to the very end because there's people listening who can't sleep at all, or who need a break during the day, or who wake up in the middle of the night, and they're counting on me to be there. So I'm there whether you're listening or not. I'm here to the very end for you. Like, you don't have to worry about when you fall asleep. That's why the episodes are over an hour. And, I'm here to be your boyfriend, your borbay, your borsib, your neighbor, your borby, your bors, your borman, your borber, your neighbor, your Boris Borloff, your chairman of the board, your borman, your best boyfriend forever, and keep you company and take your mind off of stuff so you can fall asleep. Which is different, right? Instead of putting you to sleep, I'm here as your friend, or friendly voice, or a mild distraction that you don't feel like you have to pay attention to, but you could if you need to. The only other thing to know is like the structure of the show. We have a very distinct structure, but it is adaptable if you decide the show works for you and you want to become a regular listener. But most people, or most people is kind of the wrong way to say it, but a lot of listeners, I guess it is most listeners, they kind of are going through something temporary, right? Or they're new to the show, or they kind of come and go when when they're dealing with stuff, and they like to listen linearly. So the show starts off with a greeting. Linear just means in order. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is how our show starts out. So whether you're a person that's been listening for 11 years and you listen to 10 episodes a night, or this is your first episode, you feel seen and welcomed in. Then there's a long, meandering intro. Oh, first there's support, sponsor support, so that paying for the show is optional, right? It's just for the people whose lives have been changed by this show. Those are the people we need to support the show. If you're new or casually here, don't worry about it. Or if you can't afford to, don't worry about it. It's not your responsibility. It's the responsibility of the people whose lives are enriched by the show. So that's the support. Then there's a long, meandering intro meant to ease you into bedtime, not to put you to sleep, but as you get ready for bed, or you're in bed getting comfortable, the intro, or you're doing a wind-down routine, that's why the intro goes on and on and on. But the reason it's different every time, and it follows a familiar structure, but I go on tangents about new things, is so it's kind of like a hang time and a wind down time together, but it's unpredictable, because predictability in sleep podcasts, in my opinion, don't work, because whatever's keeping us awake, it likes to be able to predict things so it can keep us awake. So that's why every intro is different. If you decide you want a show without ads, you can get that on Sleep With Me Plus. If you decide you want a show without intros, you can get it in any podcast app. That is also ad and listener supported. It's called Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me. So if you're I don't like the intros, try that. Or if, you want to supplement your listening to try something new. But that's what the intro is to ease you into bedtime, a buffer, a getting comfortable time. And again, if you're listening linearly, you could either, depending on every podcast app is different, but most of them have a sleep timer, or you can have it stop at the end of the episode. But yeah, most people have it stop at the end of the episode. Some people have a 45-minute timer. Some people have a 30-minute timer. And you just see how it goes, right? And then later on, there'll be support. Then our bedtime story tonight will be me discussing Heather's the Musical and the structure and a performances, multitude of performances I went to at a local musical theater here. So that's the structure of the show. You heard why I make the show. And I'm really glad you're here. Whether you're coming back time after time after time, or you're new, or you're just going through something tough right now, I really hope I can help you out. And so does everybody that works really hard on this show. And so, I appreciate you coming by. And again, here's some other ways you could support the show. If this makes your life better on a regular basis, if it does make your life on a regular basis, we do need your support or support a sponsor or support the show. But if it doesn't, or you can't afford to, don't worry about it. Like it's not your responsibility, right? We're here. You're just coming and going. Like, or you're just going through something tough. And we're here to help you out. Me and all of the other listeners lives have been greatly improved are here to make the magic of the show for you. So thank you so much for coming by. And if you decide you're at the point where like, wait, this has changed my life, here's a couple ways you could do that and support the show back. If Sleep With Me has changed your life for the better, think about supporting the show at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. But this is Scoots. We're trying to reset and get the super listeners on this campaign for super listeners to support the show. And the thing is, it really does come down to, well, particularly if you are an all-night listener or you fall asleep fast and you're hearing me, I really do need your attention. But if you listen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week, if you've listened for longer than a year, if you've listened longer than 3 years, if the podcast has changed your life, I do need your attention. And here's the thing. Now we got options, right? I want everybody to be a participant in this. And I'll just run through the ways you could participate. And a lot of them you could do right now from the comfort of your own bedroom or wherever you are. And even if you're a new listener or a temporary listener or a situational listener or somebody just going through a hard time right now, you could participate too. But again, if you're an all-night listener or fall asleep fast, I really want you to lean into this, which is like the first part of it is like sending or thinking about sending your comfort across the deep, dark night to another listener. And maybe it starts with a super listener who listens just like you, but knowing they're out there somewhere in the world, or maybe it's a future super listener, somebody that's new, just like you were new. Can you send them comfort across the deep, dark night? You just barely smile for them and just think, I'm glad you're here. I hope this podcast can help you. Do you want to do that, right? Do you want to participate in that? Or are you in a place right now where you need that comfort to come into you? Do you want to receive it right now? Or just know that it's out there? Because I don't know if I'm in the receiving mood, right? But do you want to do that? Like, be like, man, there's other listeners. And this is true, by the way, that there's other listeners right now rooting for you. People that listen differently than the way you do, and people that are similar, whatever is keeping you awake or getting in the way of you getting the rest, or your listening style, that there's other listeners right now rooting for you. So those are 2 ways you could participate, or you could do both, right? You could send out some comfort and you could receive that comfort right now. Or you could alternate or whatever works for you. But I'd love it, just like I talk about in the intros, for you to be a little bit more of a part of that. And again, it's passive, right? But then we're also rooting, and maybe you could root for me together, that someone, and maybe it's you, is listening and hearing me right now. And the podcast has changed your life to a degree where you're paying attention. And maybe you're an all-night listener. The show will not go on without more all-night listeners and people fall asleep fast supporting the show. And you want to be that one that's like, man, I guess I just didn't hear you all those other times, or I wasn't really listening. And that's okay, because we're rooting for that one person, 1 out of 20 super listeners. So I don't know. Are you one of the 19 people who are rooting right now, or can you feel those 19 people rooting for you? You've been thinking about supporting the show. Maybe it's for the bonus content. Maybe it's because the podcast has changed your life, or maybe you're just curious to check it out. There's 19 other super listeners rooting for you to support the show right now, to be a hero, to be a heroine, to change the future of Sleep With Me. And believe me, I'm rooting for you because we need your support. If you're listening to me, if you're hearing me right now, and if you're that one person, please don't wait. You could support the show. You could get access to Sleep With Me Plus, which is built with super listeners in mind. It'll change the way you listen to the show because it's built with people. It's ad-free. It's amazing because we built it with super listeners in mind. And think about those 19 people that are rooting for you. And even if it's indirect gratitude, not only has the podcast changed your life, it's changed those 19 people's lives that are also rooting for you to support the show. So you could do all that at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Everybody, Scoots here, and it's time for me to cover another musical. So this is coverage of Heathers the Musical, which I think I saw 6 times at Corsa Theater. I was at a beautiful theater. This particular show is at a beautiful theater in Hayward, California. And Heathers the Musical is, it is similar to the film. So, you know, this is but I'm going to sleepify it and everything. And I'm going to read the director's notes, which I didn't read until the last performance. Or I'm going to paraphrase the director's notes. And this kind of, so here's a couple of things to think about, right? We recently, I don't know when the episode came out, but about 6 months ago, I recorded a couple episodes about Legally Blonde, the musical. My daughter was in Mean Girls, the musical, last year. I didn't do an episode about that. Just because it was in the summer and I had family stuff in the summer, so I wasn't, I wasn't present to record that episode. And then since Legally Blonde, Wicked the musical came out, the movie version of the musical came out, and I have not seen part 1 yet. And the only reason I bring that up is because I'm like, what would make up a good trio, or would it have to be a quattro? Is it a quattro? So, I mean, I know Heathers and Mean Girls would be good. This is not going to be a compare and contrast episode. I guess that's what I'm trying to explain. But I think it would be interesting to see those musicals in together and reflect on them and learn more about both of them. I think Legally Blonde is a little bit different because it's just Elle's story. Most of the story is in service of Elle, and that makes it a different musical, I believe. Though maybe, I don't know, because it has been a while since I saw Mean Girls. It's Katie's story, and Heathers, it's Veronica Sawyer's story, but it also got me thinking about Wicked. Like, is Wicked a high school musical, like a high school not High School Musical, the musical, and not High School Musical, the TV show, but is that in the same genre or not? I don't know, because I've seen Wicked on Broadway and touring. For me, and that's another thing, it's just for me, I need to see these musicals like 6 times in a row over a weekend or 2 weekends till my story brain starts to unlock these things. This isn't something I can sit at one musical. I don't have that level of intellect. But as I absorb the story over and over again, I notice new things that I like, or I'm like, what about that? So, yeah, this is a musical about a high school. But this particular one, I really believe, it takes place in high school. But I don't know. I have some strong feelings about the theme. I mean, this isn't a critical analysis of it either. It's just like looking at the story and pondering, I guess. But I do want to read the director's note because this is something even the people that attended the show, either they weren't aware of the movie, or the people that were aware of the movie was like, this is a musical. So this is paraphrasing from the directors, Jennifer and David. Hey, yeah, you probably know that Heathers the Musical is based on a 1988 movie. Heathers the film was by, it was a reaction to the popular John Hughes movies of that era. To be honest, I never thought about that. And it's so, okay, let me read their stuff before I start giving my own thoughts. But dark and satirical, it offered a cynical version of teen life. Its irreverent presentation was meant to be an allegory. But yeah, that was in 1988, right? And Then Lawrence O'Keefe and Kevin Murphy decided to adopt Heather's musical in 2005 in a different time. And instead of being over-the-top comedy, this was something that the kids, this is something the kids said, hey, like, it's like a macabre mirror. And even at this course of theater that my daughter was a part of, the students have been really wanting to do this musical. But working on the show hasn't been all dark because there's something powerful as the source material, music, which balances out the gloom with a deeper. So I think this is important when I talk about where I went with this musical. Deeply relatable, beating heart. Music deepens, humanizes, and beautifies everything happening. Now, it's still just as much of an allegory, but maybe, and again, I highlighted this, an honest exploration of what it's like to be 17 these days. And is, has the hard times and comedy laughing at it, But the music gives meaning in the midst of it all, helps us understand and experience the teens' feelings and all those deep feelings we all have about ourselves and the world and where we fit in. I'm paraphrasing a lot now. And the positive stuff that's on the other side of that. So join us for the next 17 hours as we invite you to be 17 with us. So, yeah, that's Jennifer and David. And I did rewatch the movie in the middle of the run of the musical. And it is exactly like, I guess I'm like, man, they don't really make these styles of comedies anymore. And I thought that's what a dark comedy was, like, the Heathers kind of fit that very, I don't know. So let's just start. Okay. So here's the characters: Veronica Sawyer, Ram Sweeney, Kurt Kelly, Martha Dunstock, Heather Chandler, Heather McNamara, Heather Duke, Jason Dean. Oh, that's who's singing at the beginning? Or maybe those are the main characters. I don't know. I have like notes and tried to pull scripts and stuff. Okay, so let's just jump ahead, though, because it's like one thing when you're watching this, my first 2 or 3 times through, and like when we think about trying to define this through the story circle and some of the tropes about analyzing musicals like an I Want song, right? But this one, I kind of, there is, I believe, an I Want song, and I do think that Veronica wants something specific, though it gets lost in a way, and again, because this is a 17-year-old story, a 17-year-old telling the story. And when my daughter and I talked about it, she said, well, Heather, like this is all happening in her diary. So how much is a narrator reliable or not? That's a question I don't have the answer for. But I do want to jump to a song in the second act, which is called Lifeboats. And I won't jump to the words or anything. But I think if you're like looking at the cast album or looking at the show, like that song captures not the what or, but the why, and the why of why. So, because for me, when I figured out what I thought the why was, like, what does Heather Veronica want? I was like, well, it's kind of non-specific. Like, we'll get to that, but when you get to the why does she want it? The song Lifeboat made it all make sense. Because one, the song is like, it's a great song. It's a great song for someone to sing, a performer. And it's like a little bit, but it's a little bit dissonant in where it is in the, it's in the story structure. It makes sense. But it's like this song that's beautiful and tough to listen to. And it's a straight up metaphor song, but on the nose metaphor song. And for me, what it does is it captures exactly what it like feels like to be 17. And that's what's important. Like that's the why. Wait, are you sure this is what the main character wants, Scoots? Well, if she feels like this, which I felt like before, like that song, like what does it feel like to be, do you remember what it feels like to be 17? And you say, no, okay, listen to that Lifeboat song. You'll remember pretty quick. And you'll be like, oh yeah, it's not easy. So that's, when we get to the what, when you get to Scoots' what of imagining what Veronica wants, then you'll get to the why for me. Why? Because this is how I feel. And again, this is why it's a musical. People don't talk like this, or they don't necessarily identify their whys. Okay, so the show opens up. This is her first lines, which are important. 1989, Dear Diary, I believe I'm a good person. You know, I think there's good in everyone. And then I put question, is she good? Is there good in everyone? But I think that's like the thematic question of the song, like the whole show. And that's answered, maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's what maybe, it's been a while since I took these notes. So the theme of the show kind of maybe. Okay, is there good in everyone? Is Veronica good? Those are questions to ask yourself. So this first song starts, and it's like a high school song, and it's setting up the ordinary world, which for her is high school life as a 17-year-old. And, okay, what else we got? So she's singing about it, and she's saying, like, welcome to my high school. Welcome to my school. This ain't no high school. It's a tough place to be. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Hold your breath and count the days we're graduating soon. College will be paradise if, as long as I can get to June. And then it kind of changes, and she says, I know, life can be beautiful. A better way. We changed back then. We could change again. We could be beautiful. Because she's kind of singing about the contrast between when did things change and everybody became not so nice, right? So a question I had right around this time when I was analyzing it is, okay, so does Veronica want to change and so everyone is good? Or is it just to be 17? So right now that's the question we got to figure out the answer to. Also, another thing to point out is like the language in the show. And I'm not talking about the grown-up language. I'm talking about this, Veronica says, I hope, I pray. There's a lot of mythological and theological language in the show. I don't know the backstory of anything. And I don't know. I think there's just some really interesting language, especially with Heather, but or with her interactions. Okay, so is there a better way? Is basically, why do we change? Is there a better way? But right now, in her ordinary world, she just wants to get out of high school and graduate to go to college where it's going to be better. So for now, she dreams of getting out, away from this thing, take my diploma, get out of this town, dream of ivy-covered walls and smoky French cafes. But I'd rather, I really have strong feelings about disliking this place. And we start to meet the characters of the high school. Ram, who's very not nice. Return to a time that did not exist. That's another theme that comes up in this song. We were kind before. Can we be kind once more? We can be beautiful. And I mean, thematically, this is pretty returning to a time that never existed, that we imagine existed. But I've also put that it's a very 17-year-old worldview. It is that if we could all just act like we did in grammar school, we're all nice then, right? That's how Veronica remembers it. And so that's, again, remembering, this is a 17-year-old show. Okay, so then we meet Martha, who's her best friend. She's got a big heart, but around here, that's not enough, Veronica says. They used to be best friends. Common theme in these kind of shows. The best friend that's not cool enough. But they talk about, Well, Martha says, I'm a sucker for a happy ending. Then the kids aren't nice to her anymore. Kurt and Ram. Now she stands up for a friend here. And she's kind of in a way that she's like, yeah, I'm better than you guys. Like, soon you'll be out of high school and you'll be nowhere. So again, then it becomes this kind of chorus song where everybody's kind of confused about being in high school. And then we start to hear the students' needs or the students' wants. The students are like, why isn't nobody nice? Why don't, what is it like this? Why is it so hard to be 17? And then they sing, somebody hug me, somebody fix me, somebody save me, send me a sign, God. Get me some cold beer, something to live for. So I put, is this a student's need or hers? But again, this mythological thing, and I even put mythic float because they say there's the Heathers. They float above it all. And the song changes. Heather McNamara, Heather Duke, and Heather Chandler, mythic. She's mythic, not nicer. I would give anything to be like that, Veronica says. And then I said, what would you give? And it goes down here later. Like, so now we're like, you need. So her ordinary world maybe is this chaotic high school. I need or want to be at a nicer time. Or I got to get out of here or I got to get through this. And I just wish it was nicer. Because that would be beautiful as the kids are singing and Veronica's singing. Okay, now we have, again, where the Heathers become aware of Veronica, because Veronica's always aware of them. They're all in the restroom without a hall pass. But then Veronica says, oh, no, she fakes a hall pass. She says, yeah, I got this hall pass for everybody. So that's her, you need to go. That's her kind of first attempt. And this show has kind of like a lot of, what do you call it, rising? I can't remember, whatever, like, a lot of tries and failures or whatever. But this is one of my favorite lines in the show. They say, who are you? What are you doing? Heather does. And she says, I'm Veronica Sawyer. I crave a boon. And Heather says, what boon? Okay, that's like the language I really like. And it just sticks out to me as, again, a boon is something like Joseph Campbellian, like Campbellian or whatever, like a boon. I mean, you could look it up, I looked it up, or my daughter looked it up when we were talking about it, but like a boon is something you give a hero or heroine so they can get to the next stage of existence, right? Or like a gift from the gods for ordinary mortal. So, yeah. So she says, what boon? She says, can you just let me sit with you at once? And you don't even have to talk to me. If people think you tolerate me, they'll leave me alone. So this is kind of like her first attempt. She said, if you just, maybe this will get me through. So it's like a first attempt in these kind of storytelling structures. Like, I'm going to put in what's the path of least resistance? You owe me a favor, Heathers. And Heather's like, I have mythical power, by the way. Yeah, I just want you to just acknowledge me. But you can't just make these kind of deals, right? Because Heather says nothing. Her offer, of course, let's see. The Heathers laugh. Before you answer, I can do other stuff too. And then Heather says, like, well, wait a second, like, I don't know, I think I see some potential in you. Now, Heather gives her way of doing things. This could be beautiful. We put, makeup and stuff, and we're on our way. Get this girl some blush. Let's make her beautiful. And then all the Heathers sing it. Let's make her beautiful. Let's make her beautiful. So Heather's way, not something, or outside change versus inside, not life, but your change outside versus inside. So they're changing her outside, Then we go back to more high school stuff, and then all of a sudden Veronica's with these Heathers. So some amount of time passes. They say, oh, wait, who's that with Heather? Heather, and someone, Veronica. So she has success, and she even sings it. And you know, life can be beautiful. You hope, you dream, you pray, and you get your way. And she goes, she can feel it. She says, ask me how it feels, looking like heck on wheels. My God, it's beautiful. So this is very 17, too. She's kind of caught up in the moment. And she's kind of saying, I found what I need. And then there's this other theme for the show about means to an end and ends to the means, right? Or maybe I'm right. I'm like, but yeah, I believe it is about the show's about, do the ends justify the means ever or not? Or like, so anyway, the whole high school is like, Veronica's on the map now. And, then she talks to her diary. It's been 3 weeks. And I don't know if we're actually friends. It's kind of like people I work with and our jobs being popular. Okay, then she runs into Martha. I say, hey, Veronica, hey, you really look beautiful. Thank you. But it's still the same me underneath. And Martha says, are you sure? She goes, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, I get that. You're with the Heathers now. So she said, we'll hang out again soon. And then she gets interrupted by one of the Heathers. So it's like, okay, this boon was not free, so we're going to have to start to see her pay the cost of the boon. And this is the first time she has to pay a price. And not quite at the story structure later. I mean, the story circle pay a price, but she says, I want you to write a note from Ram Sweeney. And they write this fake note to Martha, who has a crush on Ram. And Heather starts to help with it, but then says, wait a second, no, you can't do that. That's not nice. She said, well, who are you friends with? Us, basically that kind of thing. She says, please don't do this, not to Martha. So she knows this is wrong. And she's 17, so she's like, she says, and she even predicts what could happen. The potential of the consequences of her actions, says this would not be good for Martha. And then Heather sings this song. She says, are we going to have a problem? And this is Heather Chandler's big song, or all the Heathers. You've come so far is basically what she says. This is the song Candy Store. She says, yeah, this is our world. If you could play with dolls and ask your mommy to fix a snack, or you could come be cool with us. And then she says, it's time for you to prove you're not one of them anymore. At your feet, pay the check. Not always, help with answers on tests. All you have to do is say goodbye to your old friends. So it's kind of like laying out the price of Heather's world and the rules. She says, I can tell if she had your shot, she would take this choice too. So it's like almost, again, like subtle means justifying the ends. Like, this is what it takes to be popular. So you could live the dream. That's your choice. Or if you prefer, keep on testing me. So you've made a deal with me, and it does have a cost, is what Heather seems to be saying to Veronica. And then we meet Jason Dean, who kind of is observing all of this. Appears, a stranger comes to town, and he says, hey, what are you doing? Were you just going along with those people? Don't you understand the consequences of all your actions? And Veronica says, who are you? And he says, you seem to be a good person. You got a good spirit about you. You just got to work hard on keeping it clean. We're all born, he quotes the thing, we're all born for not good choices. And I said, oh, is this the inverse of the theme? Because he's saying we all have this potential for not goodness, even though he's quoting Baudelaire. Then JD runs across Kurt and Ram and shows that he's superior at dancing off. And Veronica's, then this is very 17 too. She says, I know I shouldn't watch them dancing off. That's not who I am. But with this kid, hey, no-name kid, who might you be? Could you dance off for me? So again, she's kind of moving just like any 17-year-old might, from one group to another. Hey, could you face the crowd? Could you stand with me and still act proud? Could you hold my hand, carry me through this no man's land? Would you dance off for me? And we see kind of JD is like good at dancing off. And she even says, I would dance off for you if you will dance off for me. Okay, then we have this scene with adults, and there's a couple adult numbers. So in this show, all of it was portrayed by young adults and teens, except for the adults were played by adults. And in this show, and I think in the movie, but this particular musical, it really kind of portrays the adults in a very specific way, which is that they're, right here I put, they're kind of useless, right? So there is a little bit of like Veronica versus, or Heather versus Veronica's parents, but it's kind of more of like, whose orbit are you in? And it kind of portrays Heather, I guess, as like a nice person. And then Miss Sawyer even says to her, Veronica, before she leaves to go to this party, don't let these popular girls change you. And Veronica says to her mom, I need them. And then they repeat the song of like, this is what it's like being in our world. Then they go to 7-Eleven, or maybe it's something else she meets JD. And they, like, for the first time, I mean, because she had observed him or they just barely met the first time, in school during the dance-off. And she goes, that was quite interesting. He goes, well, the extreme always seems to make an impression. And then they talk about his dad, which also has a strain, like, his dad's in a deconstruction. And they kind of talk about everybody's life has static. And Veronica says, yeah, I don't like my friends. He goes, I don't like your friends either. Why don't we hang out? And then he tells his story, or kind of his thing, which is about getting brain freeze from a Slurpee. Happiness comes when everything numbs. And do you want to try it, Veronica? You're planning your future, Veronica Sawyer. You'll go to some college and marry a lawyer. But maybe you should put up some walls and not let people in. And JD kind of lays out his rules about his world, which is like, hey, maybe dance off, or maybe give people cold drinks and give them brain freeze. Because this is like, that's kind of the rules of my world as a loner. Also, is interesting, I forgot to mention this, when you watch the movie, you see that character that's portrayed in the movie, Heather's, is like a cool character in a way that doesn't exist anymore, and that doesn't really translate. I said, wait a second, this idea of like this outsider loner, it's portrayed in different ways nowadays, but it wouldn't be presented as, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they had to reinvent the JD character, or give him a little bit more nuance. I guess that's it. Like in the movie, he has I don't think he really has any nuance. He's really just, he's really, Christian Slater does a great job, but it's like, he's just, like a rebel archetype, and that's what he's supposed to be in the movie because it's a comedy. So this song kind of lays out how JD's different than the JD in the movie. Like, is he, hey, I have this particular point of view. I guess he has a point of view in the movie too. I guess it's just like, I don't know. I guess you could find out when when you discover it. Okay, so then they part ways because she's got to hang out with Heather. Maybe we'll hang out again. Then there's a party. We kind of see more adults with Ram and Kurt, and that their dads are kind of super macho. And then we get the idea. Then this party starts, and this song is Big Fun. So this party starts, everybody's getting ready to party. Dad says act our age, so we're going to party. So this is in Mean Girls too. I don't think it's in the Heathers movie. It's in the Mean Girls movie and in the Mean Girls musical in a different way. But it's like Veronica hits a party and she's at a crest now, even though she just saw JD. So maybe she's also like heavy with love or something with him. But she's also, this song's interesting because she peaks and crashes in the same song. Because she goes, wait, real? Everybody says, Veronica, you look great. Well, I feel great. Hey, no mockery. And she's enjoying partying more and more. Dreams are coming true. When people laugh, it's not at you. I'm not alone. I'm not afraid. I feel like Bono. I put peek. What does that mean? Like a peek into her new world. And everybody's saying this is big fun, big fun. And so this is like Veronica's finally able to have big fun as a high school student. But what was the cost? Well, the cost is that Martha enters the party because she had gotten a fake note from Ram that said he liked her and to come to the party. And Veronica says, what are you doing here? Yeah, I'm excited. Well, I want to say hi to Ram. I brought some sparkling cider. And then Heather's like, this is what we live for. Like, giving people a hard time. And we see Martha talk to Ram. Ram's like, I don't know. And then they ask her to play this game, like it's kind of a piñata game, but they're really giving Martha a hard time. And then Veronica says, no, this has gone too far. You're not going to make fun of my old friend. And she throws away the piñata and says, Martha, go home. And basically says, in my opinion, I'm not willing to pay the full price for this, what I wanted. At least to you, Heather. And she actually believes that she has a choice, which she finds out, well, we gave it a shot, okay? I'm resigning my position from the Lip Gloss Not Nice Club, going back to civilian life. And Heather just says, no. She goes, no, I'm not like, and she goes, no, you don't get to be a nobody. Come Monday, you're an ex-somebody. So, like, you get, like, the cost, you still have to pay the cost. And now the cost is to be, it's really unpleasant. You still will pay a price. I raised you from nothing, and what's my thanks? And then the classic line, I don't know if it's in the movie, but it's like, I know who I'm eating lunch with Monday. Do you? So then Veronica, in a very 17-year-old way, says, I'm kind of without direction. Who other allies can I find? Oh, that JD guy. And she's like, even if it's just, again, to carry me through a couple songs, she says, maybe I should hang out with him. Because she goes, yeah, I could change my name and live in Seattle, or something else. I said, another very 17 move. Is there another way? Because they start singing together. And you know, it's because you're beautiful, JD. You say you're numb inside, but I can't agree. So the world's unfair. Keep it locked out there. I'm in here. It's beautiful. Let's make this beautiful. So she's saying, I see the beauty in you, JD. And she then says, yeah, let's spend some time hanging out, maybe slow dancing and make this whole, all of this disappear in a sense. Then we get this other kind of thing that I liked where, and this is before, but like that Heather has like ethereal powers because she appears there, even though it's only in Veronica's imagination. And Heather says, how'd you get in JD's room? And she goes, I'm like oxygen. I'm everywhere. And she goes, Monday's going to be tough. She goes, why are you so determined not to be nice to me? And she says, because I can. And basically I'm saying that she's saying, I'm very powerful and I use my power. And then she wakes up with hanging out with JD and she says, I got to go to Heather's house. And he goes, I thought you were not friends. And she basically says, you know what? I'm unwilling to pay the other price. First, I was unwilling to pay the price for being a part of the Heathers. Now I'm not sure I'm willing to pay the price of being excluded from the Heathers, so the price Heather will exact on me. So they go to Heather, and she goes, yeah, I fantasized about a world without her, but it's not, she goes, it's not an option. And she goes to Heather's house to apologize, and Heather goes, okay, yeah, you're going to have to beg for apology. And JD says, well, what if, like, we could convince her to change realms? And she goes, what do you mean convince her to change realms? What, are you kidding me? That's not possible. And JD goes, you know, I think you're a bit of a realm whisperer, Veronica. He goes, with my coaching, I could convince you to whisper people to other realms. And she goes, that's not even a thing, man. Let me just apologize and get this over with. And she goes in, and Heather's like, you're going to apologize for me. There's this French line that I couldn't figure out for 6 or 7 shows. I had to ask, where is it? I'll look it up. I'll see. It's spelled in, it's whatever. But she goes, hey, I'm sorry. Okay, you're going to have to apologize. But then JD had said, hey, if you did talk to her and say, oh, how wonderful all the other realms are, Heather, you could go to one right now and they'll dance around you. He says, if you just say that, she may just go to the other realm because she's tired. And Veronica accidentally says it. And then she says, what did you say? And then Heather repeats it. And she goes, I feel like I'm like headed to another realm. Oh, what is it? Kel Surprise. That's the line. I was like, what is that line? I thought it was I said, it's French. What a surprise, I think. So, yeah, Heather's like, you're going to beg. Then Veronica accidentally tells her the realm saying that makes her change realms. She goes, I'm not going to accept your apology anyway. And then it works out. So it's like, did Veronica do that? Did Veronica and JD do it by accident or appointment? Because she changes realms. But she didn't let it, like, there was no prior notice, right? So they say, wait a second, how Heather's changed realms? Who's going to, like, you can't just change realms as a teen. Like, she's got, stuff to do and stuff like that. Who's going to clean her room and do her chores, all that stuff? And we shouldn't be realm whispering. I didn't even know that was possible. JD says, she'll just write, we'll just say that she decided to change realms on her own. Not that she was kind of tricked into changing realms. And so then we have this other song, which actually, so this is like the means justify the ends part, and the ends justify the means justify the ends. Because she starts to write this song that's like kind of like true and a lie at the same time. Because she's writing a song for Heather about, hey, I'm idolizing these other realms, and like of how it felt to be Heather on the inside, even though it wasn't actually Heather's experience, unless it was like a deep experience we're unaware of. This realm held me down. No one sees the inside of me. That's like the song. No one gets me. And then we start to see that Heather's ethereal, so she's trans-realmed now. So she's across 2 realms, at least for Veronica. And she says, by the way, Veronica, this is making me more popular, because she kind of becomes bigger. They're like, this is legendary stuff. It's so identifiable. Like, I just want somebody to see the inside of me and how I feel on the inside. And we get to see the adults. They can't really provide anything for the kids. They're ineffective. And then Heather's kind of saying, hey, what if you do stuff for other people? That's nice. No one thinks a pretty girl has feelings, as one of the lines. So Heather becomes a legend, also very 17, unintended consequences. Oh, that's the thing with the means justifying the ends. So this is like this unintended consequences thing. So then everybody's singing how Heather's made us better than we were. Heather is the me inside of me, and Heather's there as a realm journeyer for Veronica, saying, this is awesome. I'm bigger than John Lennon. She's the dove that sings outside my window. It's very, very comedic. So she's like making the kids feel seen. So like she's the twin from whom I'm separated. She's the horse I never got for Christmas. Heather sees the inside of me. So this is like almost like one of the ends Veronica wanted is accomplished by this. Because the kids feel seen. Is it real or not? We don't know. Okay, then we have the adults kind of taking advantage of stuff. And JD and Heather, or JD and Veronica are both like, I can't believe this. These unintended consequences. We meet JD's dad, who's also another adult that's just, he kind of plays a part in the the adults are kind of made out to be, in I think, a very 80s, 90s way to be like, hey, this is kind of your fault because none of you are effective at doing any kind of effective caring for us. You're either caught up in your own stuff or unaware of our stuff. So we see Mr. Dean's not great. Okay, then what do we got? Okay, then Heather, the two Heathers that are still around, we kind of see that things haven't changed. So they try to use Heather, and then we see that then there's another layer. And some of the songs have been changed or stuff, depending on what version you watch. But it's kind of showing the worst sides of high school, it's just like... And Veronica has to get through those two scenes, depending on which version you're watching. And then Heather Chandler makes an appearance, and she says, see, you should have thought all this. These are all unintended consequences. And then there's the next day at high school, and Veronica approaches the two Heathers and says, what, did you set me up for disaster? I thought we were friends. And then this is one of my favorite songs. It's the other Heathers. Wait, do I have the Heathers' names mixed up? Heather Chandler, Heather Duke, and Heather McNamara. Okay, so then there's this song, S-H-U-T up, in some versions that I really like. And Heather says, Heather's gone. It's up to me to replace her. So it's up to me to, wait, I have some of the lines. It's up to me to fill the vacuum, to run this racket, strong arm. Heather's gone. Who will rise to fill her vacuum? So it's like this other Heather, is going to fill in for Heather now that she's gone. And I think Heather Duke, I don't know. It's one of the Heathers, right? And what does this say? Not Heather, make a run on time, hot bowl of okay, so then I don't know if it's this, because again, a couple of versions are different. But Heather Chandler makes a reappearance and says, see, the ends do justify the means, Veronica. I made the trains run on time. There's nothing like a hot bowl of chaos to make you appreciate someone like me. I dominated this school, and it worked for what it was. Now, without me, it's just chaos. So good luck, because this is your doing. Because now, like, this other Heather is not quite as sharp as Heather Chandler was. We see immediately that nothing's changed in that, then Ram and Kurt are not nice. And then actually JD tries to stand up for Veronica. He can't, his dancing skills don't come around. So he gets danced off by Ram and Kurt. And it's like things are actually worse than when Heather was around, I think is the point. It's like, okay, so you made this other attempt, whether or not it was intentional or unintentional, to have Heather visit another realm. Say, well, okay, if we get rid of the meanest person or the leader of the mean people, we'll be fine. And also I kind of like am in love with JD or whatever, so this is going to work out. This feels good. And it's like, no. And it's also like, she's like, hey, I tried Heather's way. Now I'm trying JD's kind of way, or way of like me and JD working together. It's like, okay, that's not working. And I guess we'll just do the first act because we're close to the end of the first act. So then they come up with another plan, like rising, attempts. And JD says, hey, like, what? He goes, I got another idea. And she goes, no more transversing realms. And he goes, oh, no. Have you heard about sleep podcasts? She goes, no. And he goes, well, I've been listening to the sleep podcast, and I'll give you like a script from the sleep podcast. And it's so good that it'll like make Ram and Kurt fall asleep and drool like babies and talk like babies. And they'll be sound asleep doing that and snoring like in a cartoon. And we could film it, or we can get people to come watch them, and it'll be so embarrassing that, and she goes, like, through a podcast? And he goes, yeah, but we'll just do it. So it's like kind of like this bedtime story technique. And she goes, this sounds fictional. And he goes, well, by the way, Veronica, we're fictional characters. And she goes, no, we're just fictional characters in a sleep podcast right now. And he goes, correct. But this is also like this thing about their unity, kind of like, he's like, we're going to kind of do this together. And she's like, okay, this sounds like a reasonable plan, I guess. And he goes, and that'll make it wasn't just Heather Chandler, right? We got to kind of, get coalesce or something. If they're treated like babies, they'll see the error of their ways, right? Or other people will, and they'll lose their power. And they sing this song again with a lot of theological and mythological things. Our love is God. This is a JD kind of led song. This world, but when morning comes, we're going to build our own world on this, based on the love we have for each other. And he goes, yeah, you used to be, I was like a frozen lake, but you melted me awake. You're not alone. And she sings back to him, you're not alone. So it does, like, she is kind of, and again, it's a musical about being 17. She's kind of swept up in this thing. And he says, yeah, we're going to raise our city here. And it's like, is this his version or kind of her version, right? Like a heightened version of what her want. We'll make a new high school where there's sleep podcasts and whatever, like this heightened version of it. Through our love, we'll build your vision, basically. Or that's what Veronica's hearing. Is JD saying that or not? I don't know. So she says, hey, like, have you guys ever heard of like a bedtime story, Ram and Kurt? And they say, what do you mean? And she goes, do you want me to tell you a story at bedtime? And they're like, yeah, of course. And she goes, okay, let's meet up. And And then there's like this other part of the song, we're the asteroid that's overdue. The dinosaurs were dust. That was like part of the circle of life. The new world needed room for me and you. But then we also get like hints in the lyrics of like the JD's maybe like not totally available for a true partnership, a loving partnership. And that, but I guess like even the use of because they keep repeating, our love is God, our love is God. And she goes, well, what's the name of that podcast, the sleep podcast? And he uses like other language. And if you translate it, means it's totally untrue that this is a sleep podcast that is guaranteed to put you to sleep and make you drool like a baby and snore like a cartoon. It may not do that, but in like French. So it sounds, I don't speak French, right? But it's like, does le dormir la bébé, something like that. It sounds smooth. And she goes, wow, that's a long name for a podcast. And he goes, yeah, it's almost the title would put you to sleep. She goes, can you say it again? He goes, no, la me dormir la bébé, something, something, something. She goes, where'd you hear about this podcast? He goes, oh, my grandparents listen to it. Totally. They love it. Okay, so she meets up with Ram and Kurt, and she's like, okay, lay your heads down. I'm going to tell you a bedtime story. And they say, okay, but then JD starts talking too. And they're like, wait a second, this doesn't sound like this is like two voices, but it actually works, and they fall asleep and they start drooling like babies. But also what JD's actually saying is the same thing about realm crossing. So they fall asleep and then they cross realms too, and they go into this dormir realm or something. And then they're like, okay, we'll just pretend that they decide to go on a realm crossing trip together because they're besties. And Veronica's like, wait a second, did we just have them cross the realms? Or did I just do that again, even though I didn't intend to? Or did you do it on purpose, JD? This one was clearly on purpose, not an accident, because otherwise you would have just put them to sleep so they drool. And he goes, yeah, this is where we're going to, and they sing this, our love is gone, our love is gone. And the first act comes to a close. So I guess that's the first act of Heathers, everybody. Thanks, and good nights. All right, everybody, Scoots here. This is your tuck-you-in message, mostly for super listeners, though any listener that's listening right now, you could partake in this by, like, if you're a temporary listener, you're a new listener, you only listen from time to time. Remember that what I talk about in the intro, other listeners are rooting for your good night's sleep so you can receive that energy and comfort across the deep, dark night that other listeners are sending you. And you could send it out right now, right? You could send out your comfort or rooting for other people, even if they can't sleep, even if they're awake right now, that they have some comfort and relief, some companionship or some distraction in the deep, dark night. So you can receive or send any listener. You could do that. Now, with super listeners, would love it if you're, particularly if you're listening right now and you happen to be listening and hearing me and you fall asleep fast or you're an all-night listener, you're the two key demographics that literally the future of Sleep With Me will depend on if any of you end up hearing me and listening to me more than are currently doing so, or if I just slowly get through to more people that fall asleep fast, people that listen all night long, and then any other super listeners, people that have been listening over 3 years, people that have been listening over a year, people that have been listening over 5 years, people that listen 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week. You're the listeners I kind of need. Well, I mean, the reality is, like, if you're listening to me right now and hearing me, whether it's in this tuck you in message or before the podcast starts or in the mid-roll of the podcast. The reality is and I think a lot of people dismiss this, but the stats back it up. Really, you're the one person listening and hearing me right now. And that's why I'm trying this new approach, because we still have to get through to people whose lives are made better by the podcast, that we need your support on Sleep With Me Plus. But it starts before that, right? And while I have to keep asking for support and keep pointing out how important it is if you value the podcast to support it back, and that Sleep With Me Plus was built with super listeners in mind, no ads, different versions of the show designed for people that fall asleep fast, people that listen all night long, people that have very specific favorites and like to build playlists of their favorites, people with particular tastes about the podcast of certain episodes, but not other styles of episodes, people that are super fans of the podcast, super listeners, people, and I don't know, or if you're hearing me and listening to me right now, are you a super listener? If not, just root for other listeners or be rooted for. Or if you're curious, check out a trial of Sleep With Me Plus. But any super listener, there's 4 stages, I guess. Let me look at my notes here. Well, the whole thing I've been doing in the intros over the past few months and in the last minisode is that we're here rooting for other listeners, right? Or being rooted for in the deep, dark night. Because that's what the show's about, is like gentle caring, gentle relief at a distance, sending comfort across the deep, dark night to people that are out there, people just like you, or people a lot different than you, but that we all share something, right? And now is where I'm trying to deepen that conscious connection and choice in a multitude of ways. So each time you listen to the show now, you get this chance to participate in a passive way and think about who else is listening right now. Like, are you, because there's a strong possibility when I get to these messages that you might be the only one listening and paying attention right now, but maybe there are a couple other people listening and paying attention right now. And do they listen the same style as you? Are they struggling with sleep in the same way you struggle with, or is it different? And can you root for them? Maybe they're an all-night listener, or maybe they fall asleep fast, or maybe they're an occasional listener just going through a tough time. And you can decide, do you want to root for them? Do you want to send them comfort right now across the deep, dark night? And can you sense that they're out there rooting for you to fall asleep or to have some relief, or to have a distraction and a friend in the deep, dark night, that they're bore friends with you, right? That not just me as the person that narrates this podcast, but that there's someone else out there hoping that your life is more manageable tomorrow, and ideally that you could be out there flourishing on a regular basis. And if you're a super listener, right, particularly, again, if you're an all-night listener, you listen multiple times a week, or you fall asleep fast, or you've been listening for years, maybe you're the one all of us are quietly rooting for to support the show, because we do need to reach that goal of 1,500 super listeners supporting the show back. And that's out of a large number of super listeners. But the thing is, most super listeners are like, no, so it's someone else will do it. Or I'll do it later. Well, right now, you could do it, right? You could root for another person. You could be rooted for. You could do both of those things. Or you could support the show. Or you could root for someone else to support the show. Who is it out there that you're rooting for? Like, who is going to be that hero or heroine? And maybe they're hearing, maybe you're the one, you're hearing all the other listeners starting to root for you. Are you out there? Are you going to support the show? Maybe you support it because you want ad-free episodes. You're supporting it for yourself, and it helps other people. Or maybe you're supporting it because you listen all night long, and it's just more convenient to support the show and listen all night long. Maybe you're going to support it because you want it to be there for you in 6 months, or 12 months, or 3 months from now. Maybe you're going to support it because you know the podcast makes your life better. And you hear me and you know I'm serious. You say, hey, we can't do this without especially all-night listeners and people that fall asleep fast, but all super listeners, a percentage of them supporting the show back. That's how we pay the bills. That's how we're able to be here. But maybe it's not you, but can you root for that person? But maybe it is. Can you feel all those listeners rooting for one another and then rooting for that one person out of 20, right? That's who we need, of super listeners. So are you those 19 people getting rooted for and rooting for? That's pretty cool. It's cool enough. Or are you the person we're all rooting for to support the show? If you're hearing me and listening for me right now and you can hear that, it's like yeah. Rooting for you to support the show. Don't wait, right? That's the biggest thing I've been learning from this campaign, from the people that do end up supporting the show. They're like, yeah, I was tuning you out. Or I was kind of passing on the message saying, I'll do it later. Somebody else will do it. I want to do it, but I don't know. How many of those listeners are rooting for you right now to overcome those small obstacles and support the show right now at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus? I know I'm rooting for you, but I'm rooting for every listener. That's why I'm here. That's why the show isn't behind a paywall. That's why I work so hard, and that's why I'm willing to put myself out here and kind of be, have other listeners have strong feelings about me asking directly, because you're important. And that's why I show up day after day, night after night. I love making the show because I love participating in this thing where I know what it feels like for me in the deep, dark night. You know what it feels like for you in the deep, dark night. And you know there's other people out there that share this with us. And in the end, that's really what it's about. So I don't know if you could feel that. And I don't know if you could send it or receive it. And sometimes you might need to receive that energy. Sometimes you might want to send it. But a lot of times it's just nice knowing it's there, at least for me, knowing that you're out there and the other listeners are out there too. So thank you so much for listening to the show. And if you decide the podcast has changed your life for the better, and you want to make sure it's like you want to be that person we're all rooting for, you could support the show right now at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. And then set up the bonus content tomorrow when you're more awake. Thanks.